Beardos weirdos, I got a treat for you. Welcome, first ever podcast. First ever guest. I've waited so long to do this. It's the Ouija Brothers. Now, if you don't know who the Ouija Brothers are, they are, in my opinion, the most legit paranormal investigation team there is. I've met Steve, such a nice guy. I speak to Steve quite often, ask him advice on editing, what cameras to use, software, hardware. Really good guy. I haven't had much to do with Griff, but he comes across as such a nice guy in the videos and clearly a very funny guy. So I hope you guys enjoy. I've pre-recorded this intro before we get in, just so we can just have our chat, have the podcast. I hope you guys enjoy. Awesome. Right, so we've got the Ouija Brothers in, guys, Steve and Griff. For anyone, for some bizarre reason, that watches me that doesn't know who you are, do you want to give us a quick rundown of who you are and what it is you do?
Griff?
Stay.
And there we go. That's
Exactly what we do.
We, the Ouija Brothers, we've been doing this for longer, man, like coming up to 6 years. About 6 years. I think we've been investigating for probably about 8 years. And yeah, every week or so we go out and search for all things paranormal. Not very successful at it most of the time, but at least we put ourselves in that position to try and capture something. And I think that's a simple, what you see is what you get most of the time.
I'd like to say something. We are the Ouija Brothers, the best, awesomest paranormal team ever.
Well, that's subjective, though, isn't it, Jace?
It is, but that's what
not on this channel. It's not. My intro, I actually say it's the Ouija Brothers.
That's basically. I'm just saying what Beardo said. That's all. I'm just repeating what Beardo said. So
basically says, the first real paranormal channel that I found, and the guys that are head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, well, much appreciated.
And not so much with not so much with our paranormal stuff. It's our height.
The height, well. Yeah.
Do you know what? Obviously, me and Steve attempted to do an investigation one night, and I pulled up alongside him. And I was like, he looks a bit bigger than I thought. And then we pulled up this lay-by. He stood up, and I was like, shit, he's still going up.
Yeah.
And I was like, obviously, Griff stands in doorways, and I'm like, that's a tall guy. And then when Steve stood up, I was quite like I'm 6 foot. There's not many people that much taller than me.
Yeah, we always say like when I'm out with Griff, and even like in our next video, it's like Griff and Steve. I look like a short ass, to be fair. But again, like we've met quite a few people, and they've all said, "God, I never expected you to be that tall." I said, "Yeah, I'm just tall, but Griff's he's like Leatherface." Yeah. If I was casting Leatherface, he's the perfect size because he's like 6'5", 6'6". And he's built.
I think Stiff's the perfect Leatherface.
Steve, both of you could do it.
On camera, Steve has always looked to me quite skinny, and then I was like, "Nah, you're quite a thick set guy." Like completely shocked me how big.
I don't think
a thick set.
I don't think I've ever heard you be called a thick set guy.
Well, when you stood next to you, no. And then little Carl got out of the car. I was like, poor guy.
Yeah. Well, at least you got a chance to see the true size, which is a lot nicer.
Yeah, I got back, and my missus was like, "I bet you're gutted." And I was like, "Well, not really. I got to experience firsthand how it can go wrong, and I'd rather have been able to have done it with you and Carl than like me and Dean or me and my missus drive for 3 hours like you did to get turned away." But I just loved like. When I got home, she was like, "Oh, what happened to the first place then?" I was like, security. And she was like, "Oh, what have you done?" I was like, No. They ain't like that. Because I think people look at what paranormal investigators do, and I know some people will do it. They'll film themselves just walking into a property, and a viewer's first thing is, I bet they've kicked our door in before they've gone there, and then walked the loop and walked back in. And I said to my missus, like, we were respectful, like, to security, and then we got the second place. It's like we pushed doors, but then now we can't get in, and that's how we left it. And like some people are bound to kick stuff through and all the rest of it, but
it was way too risky, I think, to do anything like that. I mean, it was in a rural area as well, but not like there was all the houses and everything. So the second attention, it would have been a nightmare.
I have never felt so small yet like there was a big glowing light on my head, blinking, saying criminal, because we were just stood there all in like beanie hats and stuff and hoodies. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh shit.
it is tense. Like when we went to do them care homes, like the ones we've just been doing recently, like it's like on a main street, and we had to run up like. So we got all our bags, all our equipment. Got a camera in my hand, and people were walking past with the dogs. Weren't they, Jason? You're like, well, these don't look dodgy or fishy whatsoever. So we have to just ignore the plan, and just walk past them, keep walking all up. It's like, yeah, pretend, then turn back around and go up, and you have to wait for the right section, like where there's no cars. I was like, quick, and that's just running like up into the building. We weren't even doing anything, but you do feel like a little kid. I think they're the most adrenaline rush part of the entire investigation.
When me and Dean did the abandoned care home, there was a gap under the fence, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get under there. And the only way to get through it, I had to lay on the floor, put my arms out. Dean had to pull me through the fence, because if I tried to crawl, I wouldn't have got through it.
Yeah.
And when we were in there, I was like so aware of my thoughts and voice levels and stuff. And then when this other team turned up, I thought it was security, and I'm like, right, I'm not gonna hide from them, because if I scare them, they might take a swing for me, and that I don't want it to escalate. So I was like, I'll go out and I'll just say hello. There are people here. Look, if you want us to leave, we leave and all. I got to this door, and as I turned my torch around, there's just this face appeared in front of me. And I sort of did that. She screamed, and I was like, oh shit. And she was like, are you security? I was like, no, not yet. Right. She was like, oh, that's all right then, because the two guys behind me, they had my back. And I was like, what two guys? They bolted. They just left there. I don't know who they thought I was, but they just legit just run. I was like, all right, fair enough. But it was fun.
Yeah, man. It is a rush. Like, I think when like the video that's coming out, like in the next few days, that's like we'd recorded, we'd finished filming everything. And then, because we had our other mate with us called Stiff, and we was like, just keep the camera recording just in case anything happens. You don't know what could happen, and something we could hear something or whatever. So me and Griff was packing all our cameras away, and then we seen a big light like shine right into the building, and because we knew that this location, it's like other teams that have been in there, security have come. So as soon as we seen that light flash on the building, like we was like, oh crap, that's security.
Yeah.
And then Stiff like sat down. He turned the camera off straight away. He was like, "What are you doing? Put the camera on." Anything could happen. So he's shitting. He's shaking. Puts the camera back on. Griff goes out the front. He looks outside the window. He's like, "Yeah, it is security." So now we've still got all our camera gear all on there. So we have to pack up all in the dark, throw it all in. I took the camera off Stiff. I was like, "Come on, man, we got to now go the back way, because the front door that we went out." He's got his beams and everything. He's parked outside the front door. So we go out the back door. Griff's like, make sure you close it. So I'm there closing it. He said, no, shut it. Slammed it, echoing all around the building. And he's like, I thought it was meant to be subtle, AJ. He's like, whatever. And then we had to run all the way around the corner, jump over the wall. And then we seen the security. He's like, oh, we're all safe now. All good.
Yeah.
Jumped in the car. And we was like, oh, let's see what's happening. As we was about to pull out, just to kind of go past the building, the police and the dog unit had arrived. And there was them. I was like, oh, my God. And then we drove past them just looking. And there was actually going into the building. We turned around, drove past again. More police were coming. I was like, man, if we was in there like 1 or 2 minutes late, if we was in another section of the building, it would have made an even greater end to the video, I suppose.
I honestly think, though, that the security guard was out there for a while.
Yeah, it could have been.
And he was out, and like literally, it was just lucky that we saw the flashing light and we recognised it was a torch. Because if we hadn't, then we probably could have still been in there, and the door could have come open.
Thing is, he would have got there at whatever point, realised there's something in the building, and then he would have phoned the police, because nobody's going to go walking in there. Because I mean, he could have walked in and then walked into. I mean, could you imagine being a security guard? Walking into two guys your size, and the other guy, Stiff's a big guy as well. Can you imagine walking into that? You're like, oh, they're going to eat me.
Yeah, he's bigger than both of us, Richard is. But that was quite fun actually. That was one of the exciting ones that we had recently. So yeah.
I think the worst one we ever done is when we went into this location. We had to go through this window in the front door. And it was on an army base, so this was like not an army base, but it was like an army estate. So there was like a military barracks, an active one, and like all you could see was like military and everything, and then there was like a police station as well right near it. So all the neighbouring place was like to do with the military, and we went through this building. We had to go through this front door, crawling through it and whatever. We was all in the dock, and we were so tense because like shit, this could be the most intense location. Nothing to do with paranormal, but where we are. And then the next door neighbour come back home, and he brought the guard dog and everything. He had a big Alsatian, didn't he, Jace? And he was going nuts. He was barking. He was like,
he knew we was in there, man.
He knew he was inside the building.
Knew we was inside the building, and the guy next door who had a dog unit. It was basically a dog from a dog unit. Well, just a normal Alsatian. It was a dog unit dog. So this Alsatian knew we was in there,
going crazy,
barking crazy. This gate that it was at was the flimsiest gate as well. It had like it literally had like gaps through it, and it was just stopping the dog by a little bit, and we was in there and was like, we've got to go, and then the police were coming down the road, and it was just we've had quite a few mad ones, to be honest. It's been fun.
It is tense. It's very, very tense. You do think, God, man, what, this is a nightmare. But it's funny to look back on and to see the video, and like I say, it's a good little memory to look at it was a fun time because like you kind of instantly teleport back to those feelings and just trying to drive off. Because I was speeding down the road and Griff was like, "Why are you speeding? You're making it look suspicious." I was like, "Man, I'm there shaking."
These all of those times that we've done stuff like that. It's just that it adds to the effect, and the reason the memories are good for it is because that even though we've had so many, I suppose, mishaps and like dogs and police and stuff, we've never actually been. I think we've been caught once,
and the
whole time. And the whole time we've been doing it, the war that cool.
Which time are you on about?
When we was on the
the water floats. That was that was crazy.
That was a really good one. That was. It was on we jumped. Basically, we thought we was on like an abandoned estate type thing, and then we walked.
It was a holiday resort, weren't it?
Yeah. We thought it was abandoned. This whole area that we was in, all the buildings were falling down, everything like that. And we saw some orbs, like water orbs, and we was just like, should we go in? And then me and Steve was like, yeah, let's go in. And then the other person that was with us was scared, crying, going, no, please, we're not going to do this. It was like, what's the worst that could happen? We jumped straight in. Steve jumped in, had to go in there. And then I jumped in, and the security guard come, and it took me forever to get out because I'm on water. The hole's like this big, and I'm just trying to get out and saying, the security guard, you've got to leave. And I'm like, well, I can't leave.
I'm trying.
And he was like, if this goes up on YouTube and everything, we put it straight up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because I went to, there's a place you went to that I recognised. So I was like, I remember going there as a kid when it was open, Whitchurch Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Just outside of Cardiff. I went down there, it was like, there is no way is anyone getting in here anymore. There was fencing, police, dogs, everything everywhere. And then when I looked online, it was like they're cracking down on it.
Yeah, that was probably one of my scariest investigations because, again, as you know that place, there is live active security and dogs on site. So it was me, Griff, and Stiff, and we had to crawl through these bushes to get into the building. And the day we went, it was a storm, so all the doors were banging.
Oh,
because the wind was blowing through. So and you can hear so much noise, and you're just thinking, oh God, is that the dog unit? Is that the security guards? That was probably one of the most intense investigations, and it was all genuine because first of all, you don't know who's inside the place, and then it's obviously got the security. It was crazy, and then you was hearing those noises loud. It was nothing paranormal. It was just it was Mother Nature taking over and showing herself, and it's blowing, and those bangs echoing through these big buildings. You're just shaking, like all of us was like, oh my God, I was so glad when we got out of there.
Yeah, well, I'd say not even investigation. It was like a great sense heightener because there was wind, things blowing, doors banging, thinking someone's next to you, thinking someone's coming through the door. It was amazing.
The pigeons coming for us as well. That was pretty funny, man. Yeah, that was a good video.
So what's the biggest catalyst for why you guys do what you do? Was there one thing you can pin down and be like, that's why we started investigating?
Well, I think there was like there's multiple things, but I think it all come down to our experiences at 30 East Drive when we first went, and the amount of activity that we had. The adrenaline rush from that was just on a totally different level. It was so incredible. I'd never experienced anything like that, like the excitement.
But
So
what was it that made you want to go to East Drive in the first place? Like,
well, it was Mouse Haunted. It was Mouse Haunted, you know. I mean, because I'd never done a paranormal investigation, never done anything. So the only world I really knew was Mouse Haunted. So everything I seen, I kind of believed because I had no other expectations. I'd never done anything. So everything I seen, I believed it. And then I remember seeing the episode, just blew me away. And I said to Griff, I was like, listen, because me and Griff have always talked about paranormal. We used to kind of live together. Well, we did live together at one point, and strange things happened inside the house. Like just loads of crazy little things happen. But I've always been fascinated with the paranormal, and so was Griff. Griff had already done a ghost hunt by that before me, and I just said, "Do you fancy coming to 30 East Drive with me? You know, I've just seen you on Mouse Haunted. The place looks crazy. We can rent it out." And he was like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." So it was me, my brother, Griff, and his dad, and we went there. And as we say in our interview on our video, it legitimately did change our lives forever because all the activity, it made us a full-on believer. And it also kind of ruined it because I was like, Mouse Haunted is legit because we went on a night where it was like a Mouse Haunted because of the amount of crazy activity we had.
Yeah.
So I didn't even doubt Mouse Haunted after that because everyone was like, oh, they're full of this and full of that. I was like, well, we went to this place and we caught some incredible activity. It weren't until like when we started to do it full time where we started to realize, oh, okay, you know, not everything is what you see on Mouse Haunted isn't how it is, to be fair. We were just really lucky with the night we got. And then obviously then it just became a huge learning process. But it all started for me and Griff was 30 East Drive. The activity, it just blew us all away. And we kept going back there and we kept getting like some incredible stuff. And I remember we just sat there and was like, shall we just go around and shall we film it? Shall we capture? Shall we show the world? You know, and you know, let's see what we can do. And then that's basically the start of it.
Yeah, 30 East Drive's got like a weird pull for paranormal investigators, hasn't it? People seem to get like proper obsessed with the place. And even if they get nothing, they're like, I've got to go back. I've got to go back. Because I don't know whether it's because people are like, that's going to be the place where I capture it. Yeah. Or if there's just something about the vibe and the atmosphere there where like you feel something different there.
I think it's the curiosity factor behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like there's the amount of history on it, and then there's the amount of people that have been there and have experienced something. So I suppose it's all the hype, like the media hype and everything they all say. So it's like it's something people want to do, and I advise everyone, you know, to go there. But as Griff said on our video, just keep your expectations low.
Yeah. Obviously, you're very real paranormal investigators, and you look scientific with your equipment and stuff like that. My missus is utterly convinced that Griff is almost sensitive to it. Like, of the two of you, Griff would be the guy more in tune. Because my missus is sensitive to everything. She gets bad feelings, bad vibes, and you know, we don't claim it to be psychic or nothing, but she's like, every time she's watching videos, she's like, Griff just seems to be like in tune just a little bit more.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a thing that I think it's a thing that if you want to be, you will be, because most of the time you're just explaining how you feel at the time and explaining like what's going on around you and how you're feeling within yourself. And if that, I suppose, entitles you to say that you're sensitive, then I think it's your choice whether you want or not. If you feel like you want to tell people what you feel like at that very moment in time, then you acting sensitive towards the feelings that you're getting. So does that instantly class you as a sensitive? I don't feel that anybody's got a special power. I just feel that maybe it's up to you whether you let it in or not. It's the same. Steve gets moments of where he gets stuff right. I mean, I've had times when I've described a room of how it used to be 300 years ago, and I've never been there before in my entire life. Yeah, but again, that for me personally, that just come from me. It didn't come from anything else. You could turn around and say, "How did you get that though?" And I just all I had was feelings, and I suppose you have to accept your feelings for what they are, and just work with them. And if you want to be closed off and shut off in the sense that everyone says that you are, it's not really the way that it is. It's kind of like you either want to tell people how you feel or you don't want to tell people how you feel. That's it. It doesn't mean you're closed off in any sense. It's just that sometimes there's people deal with things differently, and you can literally sit there and think to yourself, I feel like this at the moment, so I'm gonna keep it to myself and then see if it gets it. And some people work like that, you see, instead of telling everyone. So there's loads of stuff behind it. I wouldn't say that I'm any more sensitive than anybody else. I suppose I explain.
You do say like you do meditate a lot more. Like I
well,
remember,
yeah, but I mean, I've stopped doing that stuff. I done that stuff for about 7 or 8 months. I haven't done anything like that. I've done no like meditation. I've done no works at all to do with feelings, praying, or whatever, and anything like that. I haven't done that for a long time. At 6-7 months. So, and I still feel the same as I did before. So. I think it's just something that I suppose that you can pick up on yourself, and if you want to accept it, and if you don't, then you don't. It's quite I think it's that simple. If I'm honest, I know a lot of people could turn around and say, "Well, you're wrong" and stuff like that, but I think the more that we do the paranormal side of stuff, I think the more that you have to like pick and choose when you feel like that, because you can walk in a place, and me and Steve know, and you can feel absolutely nothing, and you're like, let's get out of here. Me and Steve walked in a place, no joke, stood in there 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and we've left.
So I went to you. I think you've been there. Yeah, you have been there. I went to Margam Castle. And it was a proper run event, and there was like 60 people in there. It was one of the worst ghost hunting experiences I've ever had, because it was just over the top, and there was like 20 mediums all like and then there was people doing Ouija boards and throwing glasses, going, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Yeah, I saw you do that." But that place, I was like, it's a beautiful building. It's not that far from where I live, and I've always been interested in the stories behind it. But when I was there, it was like, it feels dead. It just feels like there is. I don't know if it was my mood because of the way some people were behaving. And fair play to the guys running it; they tried their best to sort of get some form of legitimacy out of it. And we came out there about 3 o'clock in the morning, just like, that was awful. There was just nothing. It was dead.
Stayed till 3.
Yeah,
just get his money's worth.
Yeah, man. Fuck that.
Yeah, I know you mean. It can be quite rough. I think that's why me and Griff prefer the more smaller, intimate locations, because if something happens, like say if you're upstairs and something happens downstairs, you're like, oh my god, that noise come from downstairs. It's so much better. But when you go into these huge, big locations, something could be happening in the other wing, and you're just totally oblivious, and you're just missing it. You've got to be at the right place at the right time. And I suppose that's what the paranormal is anyway. You've got to be there at the right place at the right time. But if you're in a smaller location, like a house, a residential haunting or whatever, it's so much creepier. It's so much better, because...
We needed a haunted house.
Oh, I'd love one.
Yeah. My mate, Rat, you've probably seen him comment on my videos. Anyone that gets
Narky... That's a nice name for a friend, eh? Rat.
He's I think he's 6'7". He's a big dude. Like.
So why'd you call him Rat?
His name's Geraint, and then we somehow got Rat out of it. He's into sort of witchcraft in a big way. It's like his lifestyle. And then he says to me, "Oh, my daughter's inherited a house from the grandmother on the other side of the family, and she's convinced it's haunted." And I was like, "Oh, cool." He was like, "Do you want to investigate there?" I was like, "Of course I do." And he was like, "Oh, well, she wants to come with you because obviously she's inherited the house and it's full of grandmother." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely fine. I mean, we can interview her and all this." And I'm like, "How haunted does she think it is?" And I'm like, part of me is really excited to be going there, and for somebody to say, "Look, I want you to come to my house and be the first team to come in," and all the rest of it. And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." But then I'm like, is she like him, where she's grown up with the Wiccan faith or whichever way they are, and then is that what? Because I'm convinced Mr. Grey could go into like Pendle Hill and be like, there's trees. He's a lovely guy, but he's so skeptical. I don't think he'll ever see anything because
mate, when he was with us, he shit himself.
Escape of the curtains.
I don't know. You know, I think if something did happen, I think he would.
I think he'd be honest
legitimately,
about it.
I think he would take it on board because, but again, he hasn't done that many investigations, has he? He hasn't really been out. So I can kind of see his point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, when we've been to locations and other people have gone, oh, it's the most haunted thing you can imagine. We've gone, nothing's happened. You know, it feels dead.
Yeah.
But again, you could flip that around. It's like, you know, we big up 30 East Drive, and a lot of people go, nothing's happened. It's a totally dead place.
Happened.
You know what I mean? So you've just got to be at the right place at the right time. And the more you put yourself in the position to keep doing these investigations, the more chance you'll capture something. Because you know, like sitting at home and talking about it, and like getting into the field, you're not going to really capture, you know, too much.
No.
So it's why we always say to everyone, go out and just investigate yourself, because you know that's the only way you'll really believe. Don't watch people on YouTube. Like, no one, you know, unless you're there, you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea of any of the noises, you know, because there's a lot of teams that play on the noises, you know. Something so obvious. It's you know, the investigator has the viewer by the balls, basically. If they want to portray something to be scary, it will be scary. If they want to portray to be absolutely nothing, they can portray. They can just cut out all the activity. I mean, me and Griff have like had a bit of a joke around like over the years, like you know, saying, oh yeah, we had nothing, we just cut it all out if it's too good to be true. But yeah, man, just everyone needs to get out there and just see it for themselves.
Well, it's something that we say all the while, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
If you really want to find out what's going on, if you really want to know what the paranormal is, then go out and do it.
And do it.
I suppose one thing that we do with the channel is that we show people who can't go and do it how exactly it is. That's the point. That's the point. That's the whole point of everything. And
like I watch a lot of channels either to debunk them or like, because I believe in the paranormal, it's like I'll debunk all the fake stuff and I'll scream and shout, you shouldn't be doing it. But then I look at the real guys and I'm like, watch these guys, this is how it's done. And I can see your guys' influence bleeding into all these other real channels. And it's really, you can see people like a couple of weeks after, like you guys, I reckon you probably got some hate for it when you sort of did the EVPs and you were like, they fake.
Yeah, they got loads of hate for that. Do you?
Well, I think I had more respect than I did hate. I mean, obviously you're going to get a bit
I'm
of
about
hate.
from the Ghost Hunters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So Steve had loads of hate from Ghost Hunters. It wasn't so much the public; it was more Ghost Hunters that attacked Steve.
Like we were just exploiting all the secrets, like things what people told us. We were just exploiting. It was like not exploiting it, exposing it, I suppose.
Exposing,
like I was just telling everyone, listen, this is how it kind of is. But yeah, a lot of people weren't happy. But then there's the double-edged sword where I tell people, oh, this is how these EVPs are created, and then they take down. It's like, oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Then. Well, I'll keep doing it then. I'll put even more emphasis in moving or shuffling.
Yeah, you can see,
because now they can use it to their advantage. I'll never forget. Like I was kind of telling you this the other day, but like I'm not going to go into detail who told me or what they told me, but they showed me something of a suspicion that we had of a group, of what this group was doing, like how them getting, you know, this kind of activity, because it's pretty incredible. But it was like, how are they doing it? And this person showed me a video of something that he had created, and he showed it me. He said, whatever you do, do not show anyone this, because if this gets into the wrong hands, if this gets onto the internet, more you'll start seeing this kind of thing on command. And it blew me away. Like I seen it, I was like, whoa, that's no one is gonna at all suspect that. But
when you did what you did with the EVPs, I noticed people using them less. And then things like when you say there's no scientific proof, and then I look at other people's titles and explanations, and I'm like, this is how it should be. This is guys learning from you because you've been doing it for nearly 6 years, and that's really good to see. I've got a question that I think this is what convinced Steve to do this podcast. Do you remember I asked you a question on Facebook, and you were like, right, we'll do the podcast and answer that? And the question was...
I can't remember the question.
You already forgot?
Do you worry that one day you guys capture something and you're like, definitive, that is either a shadow or a full body apparition, we've got it on camera, shit, we've got to put this out on a video, and everyone is going to say they faked that?
Oh, 100%.
I know.
No, I don't worry about it. But I think if it does happen, I think people will probably just say, oh, yeah, they've probably added it in. But again, as I said earlier, me and Griif only do this for ourselves, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite lucky, because it did turn into a job, like for me, I suppose, because this is, this is what I do. So we kind of looked into the position that we were in, but we just basically just went out to film and just to show what he was like. Because I remember when we started showing our videos, I think we was probably the first channel to show like nothing happening on the investigations. And I remember like people was like, well, nothing's happening. I was like, well, this is the reality. And then 5 years later, now you're seeing a lot of other channels where there's a lot of nothing going on. And I do like them videos, to be fair. But yeah, if something happens, as I've said, you've got to be there to know. You know what I mean? I mean, people call us fake even now. You know what I mean? Like when we walked into that care home the other week, and they said I had to turn the video off straight away just because you said the door was open. I was like, whatever, that place isn't just going to be left unlocked and whatever. And I was like, man, if that place was unlocked when we opened it, when we checked it, when we went through, it was unlocked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he even
called
he said, well, that was fake. Even the front door, he hadn't even watched the rest of the video. Good God.
Yeah, I had somebody say to me a couple of months ago, like, oh, can you debunk the Ouija Brothers? And I was like, yeah, they never leave their house. It's all green screen. It was like, you're being sarcastic. Like, absolutely. I was like, I'd have to really go through like every video all over again to even find something to debunk, because they debunk it all themselves anyway.
Well, we try to. We try and debunk as much as we can. Whatever we hear or see, we always try and give like an alternative explanation. But sometimes you just can't explain some of the things. But a lot of it's audio. I mean, I think me and Griff have said this before. We're sick to death of audio phenomena. We want to see something move. We want to see something move, something thrown, or like say the Holy Grail, an apparition. I think that's the dream, because we've heard a lot of growls, we've heard hisses, we've heard knocks, we've heard taps, we've heard bangs, and people's like, God, don't you capture anything else? I was like, don't you think we're trying? You know what I mean? We want something to be thrown, and until that day happens, I mean, remember that K2 at Wentworth? That was incredible. Like when Griff stood it up and he was going nuts, and then he was like, can you knock it over? And even we had a few comments on that saying you faked that, and I was like, listen to this. We had to have a member of staff go around with us, who worked at Wentworth Woodhouse. He was a member of staff, and because Mouse Haunted went there and they'd done some trickery. They didn't want the place to like ruin its reputation or to be made a joke of. So they said, and because it's such a historical place as well, we had to basically have a chaperone to go around just to say, oh yeah, you can't go in there, you can't do this. But he was such an amazing bloke. He loved it and he got into it, and we got on with him amazing. He would not have allowed us to go, hey, Mark, wait there 2 seconds. Can we just put a piece of string on this K2? And when Griff asked, then you knock it, and then we can pull it and whatever. He wouldn't have allowed that. He would have probably been kicked out and then reported back to Haunted Happenings. And we would have probably never been able to go back to Wentworth again.
We'll probably never be able to work with Haunted Happenings again.
No, definitely not, without a doubt. But again, people still said, oh, I can see the string. So what string? I was like, show me this string. There was literally 100%. There's no string to it. You see Griff put it down, and there's not a single camera cut. He puts it down. It's going flashing, and then he was like, can you knock that off? And if you listen clearly, you can actually hear what sounds like a little tap. Like maybe something flickering. And he goes down, and then I'm shouting, Mark's on the stairs. He can't believe he was shaking, and it was like, and he still messages to this day saying how he can't believe it. You know what I mean? He showed that video to everyone in the Wentworth village.
Yeah.
Because he was super amazed by it. So, again, you've just got to be there.
Yeah.
How come that ain't a short, Steve?
He will be. He will be. There's a lot of shorts, but now to be fair, I don't really worry about if we capture the Holy Grail. If people say it's fake, the thing is, what we'll do, we'll just send the raw footage. You know, like
Well, it don't matter anyway. People say that it's tampered with.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? See, the thing is you're never going to win people over with that stuff. So all me and Steve can do is keep putting up investigations of what we do. And if people want to say it's fake, they can say it's fake. And if they want to say it's real, it's real.
That's
but
why
me
I
and
wanted to
Steve
back you guys up when that guy. It was your comments, and he was like, "Oh yeah, why did he cut the camera at that point?" And blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Steve, you've seen this guy tagging me in shape. Like, you need to debunk the Ouija Brothers." I was like, "For what?"
Yeah.
Nothing happened for it to have been. There was nothing there to warrant you faking something. There was nothing. There was nothing got thrown. And I was like, it didn't make sense. And then obviously when you sent me Griff's footage, I was like, well, I can see exactly why he did it. It's because Griff's doing that with the camera.
No, it's Stiff's footage.
No. Oh man, Stiff's footage is even worse. Like in this next video, without going into too much spoilers, but we're here. Griff said he said there's a person in that room, Steve. He was like, I am not going in that room. There's someone in that room. And then me and Stiff are smiling. He was like, is there someone in that room? Because we're hearing this stuff. He was like, is there someone in there? And Stiff was like, I'll go in. I was like, go on then, Stiff. And if you just look at his camera, I can't even show his footage. He's worse than Griff. He's camera
and
footage.
He's a
so bad.
He was.
I couldn't believe
he did. What did he do in college? He did videography and that, didn't he?
I don't think so.
In college, he did. He did movie stuff and media and everything. I actually went to his lessons for about 4 months to record a program with him.
Just look at his camera. He's holding it there, and he's literally at the floor. He's turning. He's looking at every. Oh yeah, there is no one here, but the camera's looking at the floor. And I'm watching this, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, I'm gonna have a field day with this, and we're just gonna call this out even more. So I'm cutting back to my camera with behind him. So I'm expecting people's like, well, you weren't showing it. Why weren't you showing his camera? I was like, just look at his footage. I mean, if I uploaded it, people are gonna be throwing up within seconds. Thought Griff's was bad. I mean. I think
it's nuts though, innit? Like you guys get the bits that you get, and people are like, yeah, that's fake. And then I've looked at the name, and it's like, hang on, it says Mindseed in your name. Like there's some expectations and reality, you know.
I'll never forget. Like we done something at Shepton Mallet. We went to Shepton Mallet, and as soon as we walked into this main wing, it was broad daylight, proper sunny.
Yeah, I watched that one like about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and there was loud banging, knocking coming from within the main wing. And me and Griff were like, what is that noise? That is really loud. And we'd ask, and then you'd hear it. It was like someone tapping on the pipes.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget, like, when he was being premiered, someone said, you've just got a mate. You've got your mate there. And he's just banging. I said, you've actually sold out. I can't believe you sold out. I was like, fuck me. The first time you get something a bit exciting, it's instant. Oh, you faked it. I was like, we're both on camera. You can see we're just as confused. And then the only other member of staff who was in the building come into the wing, and we was like, "Are you banging? Are you knocking?" She's like, "No. What's going on?" She's like, "There's banging and knocking going on." And she's like, "No, I can't hear it." Then the knocking happens again, and Griff's like, "What is it?" And she was like, she looked confused, and Griff's camera's on her, and you can see we're the only 3 people in that entire prison.
But it's like if you were gonna fake it, at least you wouldn't. Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't make it as obvious. Why a knock? That, you know what I mean?
If you're gonna fake something and risk it, why a knock? You know, there's.
Yeah, I'd have somebody being thrown out of the cell towards us or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, a ball rolling or whatever.
Green screen suit on, run past, holding a candle. It's bizarre. Like some of the stuff I get sent to debunk, and I'm just like, I can't. What do you want me to do with that?
But do you get a lot of footage of ours to debunk?
Not you guys. No, the only one was the one I got asked to look at was obviously in your comments was the camera cut, and I knew what it was before. I never asked you to send me the footage. I just said, "Do you want me to have a look at it?" And he's like, right, here's the footage. Crack on, do what you want with it. And like that's the difference. Like I've been approached about loads and loads of other channels, and it's like I think these guys are faking, and I'm looking, I'm like, to me, like some other debunkers will say this channel is faking and blah blah blah, and I've looked and I'm like, they're not faking. What they're doing is misinterpreting nature and natural sounds.
Well,
Like
a lot of them play up to it though.
Yeah, like somebody said
I mean?
to me, Amy's Crypt did the castle me and my wife did, and they were like, "Oh, she's faked that scream." I was like, "No, they're from Australia. They've never heard a fox scream." Me living around here, I've heard it, and it sounds like a woman screaming in agony.
It sounds evil. A fox going nuts is scary.
But they're from Australia. They'd never have heard it, so they're not faking. Then they've just misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, those bangs that they were calling out, they were added in." I'm like, "No, there's a firing range," and they didn't realise because they're not from the area. I know there's the firing range because we can hear it, and we are even further away from it.
Yeah.
But it blows my mind, some of the stuff I get asked to look at. I'm like, what am I looking at? There's nothing to debunk. Or it's like potentially this just noise traveling on wind or something in the house dislodged, and people are going to play up to it. A lot of the guys that I watch and enjoy watching, I could look at it and be like, "Oh, I think that's that," but I wasn't there. And like, I got asked to debunk a big channel a couple of weeks ago, and I've had a message off the channel being like, "I know you've been asked to look, blah blah blah," because somebody else has debunked this and said there's a string in the video, and I'm like, "Look, I've looked and I've looked and I've looked. There's no string in the video." Because you're using CCTV, and the CCTV, with the amount of dust you've got flying around, if you masked out the string, I'd see the artifact in. You couldn't. There's no way you could do it because there'd be a clean area. There's no way. But at the same point, I don't think it was paranormal either. I'm looking at people shifting body weight and stuff like that, and some people are just so like, everything's a string, everything's a wire, everything's green screen, and I'm like, it's not.
No.
And not everyone is out to fake and pull the wool over people's eyes. And I got the one with the door. Oh, that guy kicked the door. And I watched the other camera footage, and I'm like, he's 4 foot away from it. He couldn't physically have kicked it.
Yeah.
And when I said it's not, in my opinion, it's not paranormal. They're in a house that's literally falling down around their ears, and people have gone in there moving stuff about. Something's dislodged and fallen, and rightly scared them. Because it scared the shit out of me.
Well, because it is like, it does sound like a genuine reaction as well. Like how he reacts when the door like gets.
He jumped.
And the door,
you can hear from it.
You can hear the genuine fear. So
like his voice was shaking for the rest of that investigation, and
they totally just kind of like his other. I can't remember the names, but he was like, just chill, just relax, just be quiet. They weren't screaming, they weren't going nuts. It was like, oh, just chill, Other teams would have milked that like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, I can't wait for people to see the latest video of that's going up, because like mine and Griff's reactions, and even Stiff's, like some of the reactions are just.
Do you reckon that video will be up before this goes out, or?
I don't know when it's going to be up, but. I mean, I can imagine people. Oh, you faked in all this. Like, man, well, you'll hear our own opinions at the end of it. What we think. What he was. I'm not going to spoil any of it, but
I hope somebody does ask me to debunk it, just so I can watch it and be like, this is exactly.
Just now watch the ending. And then so basically, as soon as we start talking, and then cut that part, and then go back and see if you, because just see if you can debunk it.
Because It was one of the most unreal, surreal things we'd ever experienced, or ever. When I come back, I messaged you instantly. I was talking to like my partner, and I was like, she was like, "Oh, hey, did he go?" I was like, one of the most. I said the paranormal's real again, and she was like, "What do you mean real?" Because when you do so much, you don't fall out of love with it, but you kind of become skeptical again when you keep going out and not a great deal is happening. So you kind of just think, oh, was it just this? Was it just that? Did I just mishear something? You kind of, it all kind of starts to get blended into one. You kind of, forget things and whatever. But this was so pronounced. You could actually hear words as clear as day. I was like, I've never heard anything like this ever. like actual like words, like multiple words strung together.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's happening here, right behind me. I was like, how the,
Yeah, because
I was so excited.
The one I got asked to debunk of you guys, I watched Carl's video that he did in the same place not
Oh, the
long
care
after.
home, yeah.
And I'm like, he's got the exact same voice there. It's
Yeah.
different. It's the same tone and pitch, but it's different words. I couldn't make out what he was or what he was saying. Yeah. But I'm like, that sounds like the same female has said something else in an area that's really close to where you were. And to me, that adds more legitimacy to it.
Yeah. It's a great place. It's absolutely such an amazing place. It's such a shame we can't really get in there. Again, it's the risk is just too much.
We could try.
It's a shame. I love you, but yeah.
Right. So
obviously, you just end up telling him the whole thing.
It's all right. I'll put this out after you put your video out. It's fine.
No.
but don't spoil any more for me.
I don't think I've really spoiled anything, have we? No. You know, it's a good video. To be fair,
no, I'm just saying that there's a chance, isn't there? Because it is good to talk about it. Yeah. It is really good to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like one of say, you know, I don't want to. We can't talk about it because
we can't talk about it.
Yeah, but
let's move on.
It'd be good to talk about it after. But
yeah, absolutely, well up for that. Right, so you're both clearly gamers. Obviously, Steve's got his PlayStation hat. Griff's got his Gears of War tattoo in his knee. That must have fucking hurt.
I've got loads of different tattoos for games on me. I've got tattoos all over.
What's your favorite?
Go on.
What's your favorite game or your favorite game franchise for both of you? Because obviously I'm a gamer as well.
For me, without doubt, it's got to be Resident Evil. I'm an absolute fanatic. Played Resident Evil 1 when he first came out on the PlayStation 1. Me and my brother and our mate Lee, we just used to play all the time. We couldn't figure out any of it. You know, he was so hard. You know, with the tank controls and the puzzles, he was so he was brand new. You know what I mean? There was no other game like it.
And it was scary as shit. You look at it now, and it's like, it doesn't look anything. But back then, it was like, I think it was the first proper horror game as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first proper good one. And ever since then, just always been fascinated with the entire series. Since '96 up until now, I play them over and over and over. Them just such.
What about them films?
No, the films are bad. I'm not a big fan of the films, or the TV series or the CGI films. Them all garbage. To be fair, I don't really care about the Resident Evil story. I'm like you know, with the remakes and everything. I'll watch it once and then I'll just skip it. I love the gameplay mechanics and the puzzle solving and the backtracking and the music and the atmosphere. That's what I personally love. The story I don't really care about too much, but Resident Evil is up there. And then a close second is Metroid. I absolutely adore Metroid.
Which one?
All of them.
I suppose that's a franchise, are you?
Yeah, I mean, because I've just completed Metroid Prime Remastered. That's come out, and then today I've been playing Metroid Dread as well. So I played the first person one and then straight into like a classic 2D one, and them just both incredible games. Well, yeah, all the Metroids.
Because obviously I've got Gears of War tattoos. That's one of my. I mean, but the thing is that my love for games is game based. So it's kind of like I only love Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. The rest of the franchise can get fucked. Then, because obviously for me those 3 games with the story and everything like that, it was just something that I was really into, and I was ranked first in the world on obviously Gears of War 3, and I was ranked 12th in the world on Gears of War 1, because I'm more into the competitive game side of stuff. So it's like that was my time when I was like enjoying that. But I used to play ridiculous times, like 18 hours a day and stuff. I mean, Steve even seen me when I was doing Halo Reach. I was just on that game from waking up in the morning till all through the day. I just kept playing it. I mean, Halo for me, again, for the competitive side of it, and then for the fact that me and Steve both, well, we should get back on it, but we used to play regularly the campaign together. I mean, there's too many games for me to like say favorites and stuff like that, because like I like all the 2D Metroids. I don't like the Primes. I don't like the 3D.
I don't know why, because it's the same concept, just different.
It's just 3D. It's just a bit more complicated. I'm a simple man.
Nah, it's easier. It's like completing Metroid Prime 1. That was my first time doing it.
Yeah.
I've played it a lot, and I always used to like watch my brother. But this was the first time I actually completed it.
Oh, I thought you completed it loads.
No, my first ever time. I know the game
Okay.
really well, but this was my first time actually completing it. The only one I've really done was Metroid Prime 2. Never played Prime 3, but honestly, them great games.
Yeah, I mean, I might pick them up when I'm older, but at the moment,
How old do you need to be?
I'm still into like the 2D.
The games are already like 20 years old.
I know, but I mean, all right. Then, so say Gears of War, you've got Metroid, SNES, and then Super Ghosts and Ghouls, one of my favourite SNES games as well, and Super Protector Alien Rebels, one of my favourite games as well. They're mostly 2D games on the SNES. And then so Gears of War, the SNES games that I like. I mean, it's like when you're thinking about your favourite games, you know. I mean, Destiny 2 is a big, massive game that I played. I played that for ages, for years and years. Did all the raids, did all that stuff, everything. I mean, that was a big part of what I did. And what else? There's got to be. I don't know. There's got to be 50 more. Age of Empires 2.
Oh yeah, but he said your favourite game.
Oh, these are my favourites. These are my favourites. These are my favourites of all time. I've played over 7,000 hours of Age of Empires. That's my all-time favourite game. But
well, there you go. You should have
there we go.
Age of Empires.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, then there's different franchises.
We've all got
no. You've just got horrors and 2D shooters.
No, I don't.
Games.
The Donkey Kong Country games, I absolutely
it's the same.
love.
It's an adventure, fucking go along. The same as Metroid. The thing is the RTS, FPS, and then single player. There's loads of different ones
the Formula 1 games.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So you've got Formula 1, Resident Evil, all the Metroids,
Donkey Kongs.
No, because that falls into you've got to pick one. That falls into the same category. Whereas an RTS is Age of Empires, my favourite game. FPS, we're talking Halo, or CS, and then we're looking at third-person shooter, Gears of War. Say them all different. I'm not extending it. I'm just telling you that's what they are in those categories. I think I'm an all-rounder apart from racing. You know, I hate racing games.
Yeah, I can't believe
I hate racing games.
I used to I'm into my motorbikes, so I used to play the MotoGP games, but I stopped playing them. They got too complicated, and I'm not very good at riding a bike in real life.
Steve's great at F1. If anybody wants to race him, he'll beat you every single time. He's just
or go-karting.
Yeah, he's good at all types of racing stuff, like massive. I don't think he'd ever beat me on shooting games now. Well, no, we used to be close back in the day, but anything to do with racing, Steve's got it. Steve's got the skill of racing.
Maybe we should have a gaming night on YouTube one night.
He should have been an F1 racer rather than a Ghost Hunter. That's what he should have been.
Would he fit in a Formula 1 car?
I think nowadays,
small guys, aren't they?
Yeah, but like nowadays they do have some big drivers, so they do. You can do it, but yeah.
I mean, Ricardo's quite big, eh? Ricardo's 6-something, eh?
I think some of the big ones is like George Russell. He's quite a tall driver.
Is he?
Yeah,
but I'd say that's a few of my games. There's loads more, but that's a few in the franchises. I like.
Yeah.
So, ghost hunting aside, any other hobbies? Like any of you musicians or anything like that?
I used to play.
Is ghost hunting a hobby now, Steve? What have we reverted it to?
It would have started as a hobby, though, yeah.
Yeah, it was a hobby.
For me, ghost hunting was like, I think me and Steve, we love the adventures. I preferred the adventures alongside doing the ghost hunting as well, because it takes you back to being like, I suppose, a teenager. Because me and Steve used to do it when we was kids and didn't record it. Imagine if we recorded it then, we'd be stupid, like big up in the game or whatever. But it's kind of like, it just reminds me of that time of just simpleness and just fucking going out, enjoying yourself and stuff like that. And then we get to do a bit of ghost hunting in between, which is always fun, because if something happens then it's amazing. But yeah, the other hobbies than that, I mean, it's hard to have hobbies when all you do is play games and ghost hunt and
go to work.
I get to work, Steve goes to work, Steve edits, I get to work.
Yeah.
And there's hardly any time for anything else, because we got families, and literally that's it. I mean, we do have holidays and we do go for walks and stuff like that. But if you're talking about regular hobbies, I mean, I go and play golf with my dad every now and again. but it's not like because for hobby, I'd suggest that you'd have to do it at least twice a week or once a week, whereas I get to play golf once a month or something like that.
I definitely get that it's hard. I mean, I got my guitars up on the wall there, and I don't think I've taken any of them down in about 2.5, 3 years. Like, and prior to YouTube and Twitch, that's sort of what I did outside of work. Was I was a musician, so it's.
I thought he said us too, then, like you two. He's obsessed.
I used to love like I do have a drum kit, like an electronic drum kit, but since we had a dog, I had to take the drum kit out the kitchen. And I haven't played them now for about a year and a half, which is a shame because I used to just love playing them, like every day. Like, you know, let out your frustration on the drum kit. It's very therapeutic, but I do really want to get it back out. I mean, I keep saying, like, I just want to like
get it out now, Steve. Show him
and just play some songs. But,
you get your guitar. You get your guitar out, Beardo. I'll still get the drums, and I'll just sit here listening.
But, you could sing.
I could sing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just drumming, editing, and just spending time with the family. Yeah. I mean, some people go, "Oh, that's quite boring," but as you get older, you kind of.
It's not boring. It's not boring. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of towing two worlds, even with just your ghost hunting, because technically you're urban exploring at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And you're quite respectful to property, to history, to the way you speak when you're in the properties and stuff. It's what I'm trying to do when I go, because I went to the boys' village, and when me and Dean finished there the first time, when we came out, he was like, "You do realise that this was a place for kids, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Do you think they'd like enjoy all of your swearing?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I never thought of that." And he was like, "So instead of going there when we went the second time, I changed my tone and everything, like I was speaking potentially to children, trying to curb the language and stuff." And then when I watch you guys, it's like, oh, actually, they already do it. I've the way that you speak, like you went to a murder house and the way you were speaking to, the victim, and then when Griif started about the murderer, I was like, and then you notice these little sort of nuances on depending on where you're in, like if you just go into a random abandoned house and you like spirit, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that just took like years of like learning ourselves, because if you watch our first few videos, we didn't know how to call out, what to say, because it was just all the learning experience. Like it's all right when there's no camera, but when you've got a camera, it just adds like a bit of weirdness to it. I was like, oh god, how do you start this? And then you're more giggling, you're just laughing over just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But you become okay. Yeah, well, let's just do it. And then you just forget. And like I say, it is a learning experience. Like I say, if you watch our videos now to how we used to be.
Yeah, I think I said it to you, didn't I? That I'd watched them backwards.
Yeah.
And it was like, apart from the mad hair growth you experienced about 3 years, it was like watch you getting progressively worse. And like even at your worst, I mean, you were 10 times better than a lot of the shite I've had to sit through.
Oh, thank you.
But you can see like the growth, the less reliance on apps, and then I mean, sometimes like the worst one for it is your eye roll, Steve. Now and again, you roll your eyes, and it's like, oh, he's completely convinced that's full of shit.
Yeah. I mean, we do get comments now, and we do see them. It's like, why do you use those apps for? You know, the load of rubbish. Stop using them. I was like, I think the majority of all last year, we had a disclaimer at the start of the video saying, listen, none of it is proof. It's just an experiment. Yeah. You know, when we go to these locations and we're calling out and nothing's happening, because 9 times out of 10, nothing happens. And you can start to lose focus, and you kind of forget to what to ask, and you start to get bored. Unfortunately, you know, that is the reality of ghost hunting. You get bored. So when an app kind of spits a word out, you're like, oh god, you know, it kind of gives like a little bit of a shot. Now, we're not saying that these words are genuine, or because we have no idea how them coded. All we know is we put them on airplane mode, and it doesn't like really like track us. As far as we know, it doesn't track us. But we don't know how these apps work because we never coded them. But it's just an experimental tool. Because what is the harm in using it? I see so many snobs out there who just will just go crazy. Oh, them this, them that. And you know what? He could be right. But does it really matter? It's not, we're not putting ultimate faith into it. But well, why are you using them then? I was like, I don't know. It's just an experiment because if nothing, most of the time, nothing happens at all. But if you get something relevant and you can just start asking questions, you can just kind of ask your questions, and then you get people, oh, well, then you're being misled. Now the app's just guiding you. You'll never win. It's the same as like devices. It's just something just to see if anything happens. We're not going there thinking, oh my God, I really want this K2 meter to light up. Oh, I want this cat ball to move. I want the ghost. If that goes off, this is the ultimate proof that the paranormal's real. No, that's just the bare minimum of, oh God, you know, we want the ultimate. We want what everyone else wants. We want to see that chair being dragged. We want to see a door being slammed. We want to see objects move, teleport. We want to see all that. But the chances of any of that happening just once is it's so rare. So unfortunately, you just get the gadget out and you're just like, let's see what can happen. If something legitimate happens, that's brilliant. Like as you're going to see in this next video that comes out, I don't think we even use a gadget. I remember I actually put a Melrem down and I'm like, I don't even care if that goes off. What the stuff we've heard, I couldn't give a crap about the equipment at the moment. And I picked it up and just put it straight back in my bag. But yeah, the equipment's just it is what it is.
When I went out the first time, I was like, I'm not using any of the apps and any of this, any of that. And me and my wife, we were out for hours and hours. Like we had the K2, and then I was like, nothing's happening. And I can only ask the same question twice.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Put the app on, and then a name comes out, and it's like maybe not, but I can ask for the name, and then you get people in the comments. Then like, I've looked into the history, and that name is relevant to. Oh, all right, fair enough. It's probably just chance, but that made the difference between my video being me and my wife
zero.
Walking into a castle and going and walking back out. So then it kept us there because we were like, oh, maybe, and then I get the use of apps, but like you guys, I don't put all of my hopes and dreams into them.
Exactly.
Like I call paranormal evidence because it said Sarah.
Yeah, just use a bit of logic because, like, it said some stuff. Take what you want from it, but did we actually capture anything genuine paranormal activity that we could say? 9 times out of 10, it's like no, but it's up for people to make their own minds up of what they think of the apps. I mean, we're living in the digital age where everyone's on their phones all the time. I mean, just thinking about 30, 40 years. Like the next generation of ghost hunters, that's all I'm going to know is the necrophonics and apps. You show them a spirit box, I'm like, what the hell's that? A radio probably won't even exist back then. Like an AM or FM probably be obsolete. They won't even bother using it. Be something else on the phone. So
I mean, look what people were using in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Dowsing rods and a crystal on a chain, and then
we should get all of that. That's what we should get to.
Go old school. Yeah, like I've seen people starting to use tape recorders, and I'm like, it's a cool idea. I like the idea behind it, but then I'm like, once you record over a tape 2 or 3 times, the noise will start to bleed through, and
because of the magnetic strip. So if ever you do anything on tape recorders or anything like that, make sure you have a new tape for each recording.
You think they still make tapes?
I think so. I think they probably
they're not cheap to buy anymore, though.
Yeah, they're going to be quite expensive. It's a novelty item, I suppose, now. But again, as you said, it can bleed. Because as it's recording, you could miss a track or whatever, and it can bleed through. And then again, you've got contamination. But you could be showing your entire audience, oh my God, listen to this EVP. It's just said this word. When in fact, as you said, it could have just been something from a previous recording it was recording over, and that's just seeped into. And before you know, again, it's nothing paranormal, but
Yeah, I was a CCTV operator for 12 years, and we used to use videos. We had like literally 9 video machines stacked up in this superstore. And one of the guys was like, "We've got a fucking ghost in the shop." I was like, "Nobody's died in Tesco, you idiot." He's like, "Nah, serious." And I played it back, and there's this ghost figure walking across the screen. I was like, holy shit. Tesco's is haunted. The clock tower is haunted. Wow. And I played it again. I was like, that's not a ghost. He's wearing a modern Tesco uniform. Like, we changed our uniforms years ago, and he's wearing that. And it's where the tape's been recorded over so many times.
Yeah.
The tape had worn thin, and stuff started to bleed through. And then when we looked at like the petrol station cameras and stuff, you could see cars, ghost cars. I was like, oh get it.
Oh man, yeah. I bet that's proper upsetting. That is. My God.
Yeah, I mean, we thought me and I can't even remember the guy's name. It was that long ago. I was pretty much a kid. Like, and we were sat there like, there's a ghost in a shopping center. Wow, like it's walked through the flowers and into the clock tower, and no, it was just a tape. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. 100%.
Debunked it. I mean, I've been a debunker for years. Come to think of it, haven't I?
Been a debunker from day one.
So, have you guys ever had something that you were utterly convinced, right, that's paranormal? Utterly convinced at the time. You've got home, you've put the editing in, and you've watched.
We should have done this. We should have done this after the fact. Can't really talk about stuff because it's always the same with that. But there's this new thing that we can't talk about genuinely.
Yeah. No, don't talk about it. But prior to that,
I mean, we'll switch straight back to 30 Years Drive again. You know, that stuff that we had there, that was as genuine as you're ever going to get anything, and we wasn't recording. You know,
I'm trying to think, like with the question he asked though, like when we've been filming, something happened and then gone back. I think actually, and it's how I ultimately debunked EVPs in general. It's when we investigated that school, and we called those 2 EVPs where it sounded like it said "help me" or something like that. Because when we heard those, because we listened back to them, it was like, oh my God, that's what it said. And I was so excited. I went home and I told my mom, I was like, my God, we've done an EVP session, and the EVP sounded like someone saying "help me" inside
you're on about.
Inside an active school. You're like, whoa, that is nuts.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So we were so excited. I was like, whoa, I can't believe it. And it weren't until I put it into the edit, and it was that moment where the light bulb just went off. So I listened to it. I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And then I just had this like inkling to think, I wonder if my camcorder picked up that EVP in real time. You know, because obviously we knew the EVP, the footage, but I wonder if my camera picked it up. So I rewound it to the when we asked the question, and I heard it, and I was like, oh, okay, hold on, there is a noise there. There's something there. And then I heard the noise, and then, like I say, it went up, and then I checked a few of my other EVPs done the same thing. I was like, wow, I think I've just debunked EVPs, like on like not just mine, but many other channels EVPs. Yeah. And then when I started watching another channel who was at the time, he was classed as the king of EVPs. And so when he would do an EVP session, and then he'd show the EVPs, like, oh yeah. And then I'll just rewind them in person, you know, like just in private. And I was like, oh, okay, that's all it is. And I remember everyone used to just go, oh, you know, he's the king, he's the best, he's undeniable, you can't debunk his EVPs. I remember, this is how the video kind of come about. I was like, I can debunk his EVPs. I know exactly how he's doing it. And there was like, well, put your mouth where what is it? Money where the mouth.
Your money where your mouth is.
There's like, go on, you show us right now then how he's doing it, because those are some of the most unbelievable EVPs we've ever. You can't debunk that. And I was like, okay, well, you've challenged me now. So I made the video, and I showed it to Griif, and I showed it to a few other people behind the scenes, and some people who were connected to this other person. And I'll never forget the day, but one of them said to me, "You cannot release this video. You'll destroy him." I was like, but my intentions aren't to destroy him. It's just to educate people, to show, listen, if this can help people to conduct an investigation properly, instead of all these false results, it needs to be out there.
Yeah, he should have learned from that, not gone where he's got. I know what you're on about.
I mean, technically, he did learn from it, and now he uses it every video. You know, using the methods that I said, oh, this is how to capture them. So, but yeah, I think that's one of the biggest videos for me, just how I debunked something. Because at the time, he thought he was legit. Super excited, thought we caught a Class A EVP. Got home, he was just Griif moving on a cushion, and I was like, "Oh man, that's really crap." And,
it sounds like you've got some resentment towards me there, and that ain't even what I meant today.
No,
just Griif moving on a cushion.
You when you're
sitting,
moving on that cushion, like changed a lot. You know what I mean? That simple movement changed a lot in the paranormal. In my eyes, anyway.
Yeah,
For us, it did. It changed a lot. But people forget though, and they fall on bad habits and they just carry on.
That's what people have got short memories, man.
Have you ever had like any close calls when investigating, like for injuries or really hurt yourselves? Like, what's the worst injury you've had?
I know what Steve's thinking about.
Yeah, I think I know what it is going to be.
It's just
go on then, Griff.
Oh, what do you mean?
To be fair,
I've never had any close calls.
I've never had an injury, thank God for that, or not even a close call. Nothing that I can remember, to be fair.
There's only one time that's ever happened. How many times have I had something bad happen to her?
I can think of two.
Tell me one of them that's not so obvious, because I know the other one, but I don't know the other one. This one that you're on about.
This is when we didn't. When
you're on about the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two. Yeah, there's two that I know.
So we was trying to get into this location, and we couldn't get in. And Griff trod on a nail, and he went straight through your foot, didn't he?
Yeah.
Straight.
You know what I mean? This nail was about like this long, and he just went straight in, and I just said, "Stay." It's in my foot. And fucking hell. And I like lifted my foot, and my foot all peeled out of it. And then basically I said, I've got to go get a tetanus again now. And that was that. But I suppose that's an incident in the sense of that, but near missing state in the sense of like something really bad. Neither of us have had anything like that. We've been really lucky with that. Falling out the window was just basically because my movement was shot that day. And I couldn't bend properly to fall, so that one was a good one. It's always going to be a good one. But off camera, I think the only other time I had something was when standing on that nail, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have been lucky. Touch wood. We haven't really gone through any flaws or anything like that. We're usually quite cautious and quite careful. So.
Hold on a sec.
Hold on, me going in the pond.
Steve's got to near me. I just remembered it as you probably remembered it.
The pond was epic.
Oh yeah, that was bad. That was
that's Steve's worst mishap. Yeah.
No injury though from that, but that was just like because
you could have caught pneumonia and die.
Yeah, I was absolutely freezing because it was a cold night. But yeah, because we was going through in the dark and like we didn't even know where we were going. Joe and Ellie was telling us, and so we had to have torches on like very very low because of like the neighbouring houses, and we was going through these woods. And he was like all overgrown and everything, and it was just like a little drop like this. It weren't big at all, and because this pond hadn't moved in years, so it had all this gunk, all the trees, because all trees are grown all over the top of it, so it just looked like a little drop down. Because me and Griff have seen a lot of stuff like this over the years. He just looked like a bit of mud. So I was in first, and I jumped in. Obviously, I just went straight down. Funnily enough, I mean, Joe nearly followed me because he said he just looked like dirt. Yeah. But he see me drop down, he pulled me straight out. But it was so uncomfortable. I was so cold. It was like up to here, like just all totally wet. Dithering, shivering. I think it took like about an hour and a half just to get to the location, maybe 2 hours. I had to sit in wet clothes. That was a bad experience, to be fair.
Yeah, you looked really uncomfortable all the way through that.
Well, it destroyed a lot of like my motivation as well.
Yeah.
But I carried on. I mean, I did film and we did do stuff, but that was a bad experience. But again, thankfully, nothing bad happened. But yeah,
because like I must be the most accident-prone guy on the planet. Like we did. I didn't hurt myself in the castle. The abandoned care home, I hurt myself twice. I stepped off a step and then like a 2x4 just appeared in my testicles. Like that really hurt. And I was trying to play it down for camera. And then Dean starts laughing. He's like, I saw that. I was like, oh my God. And we walked out there. It was like, we've got to be careful where we step in because this place is falling down. And then I just felt my right leg disappear. And I was like, what? And Dean caught the back of me. And I was like, if I'd gone any further or he wasn't behind me to have held me up, my one leg would have gone straight down. Somebody taken the manhole cover. Yeah. And I was like, I would have broke my leg, no doubt about it. And then it's like, how do I get out of here? Because I'm not supposed to be in here. he had to pull me through a fence, and I was like, oh, I got to be more careful. Because stupidly, I didn't know any different. I was just walking on in night vision the entire time, like, oh, this is awesome. My viewing was like this big.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Like how we kind of get around that is like I've got like a torch that's clipped onto my trousers, and I just put like a little red light on it. So as we're walking around the building, I'm just at least I've got a bit of red light that kind of covers. It's about 6 foot or something like that. Because like I say, when you are walking in the dark, you literally can't see anything, and it is dangerous. So I just turn on the little red light, or we just flick the lights on as we walk around. And then once we're stationary, then put it back into night vision.
Yeah, it's not. It's too late.
Yeah, it's not worth having the injury.
No, not at all. You got sort of any further hunts planned that you want to share, or do you try and keep everything?
No. Look, a lot of the time we do just wing what we do week by week, but we have got some new locations coming up very soon. Actually, the 1 month we're in February now, so around April time we're going to some new places. Quite a few to be fair, so that's going to be cool. We're still working with Haunted Happenings. I think they've got a few new places, so we're just jumping on with them. We've got quite a few new videos that are going out again at locations that we've never done before. So that was, that's we've got a lot of new places coming up.
Nice.
So yeah, just keep winging it every single week. To be fair, but it's a lot of fun though. Just going to these locations and not having. Because we do like to kind of go in there with not too much knowledge, about some of the hauntings. Obviously when we get there, we do some interviews and stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of good places coming up. So
yeah,
if stuff happens, that's another question. But we tried, and like I said, some of the places are really cool.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, though, is to go in the experience and
man,
trying and definitely learning. I don't think it's like a lot of things. I don't think you ever stop learning. Like when you're a musician, you never stop learning. Like what people do for work, unless it's something really mundane, then you never really stop learning. And like more technology will come out, and what was once science fiction might become science fact, and it's cool because you never know which way it's going to go. Like, I mean, paranormal encompasses so much, really, and it's like, there's stuff I don't believe in that others do believe in, and I could be proved completely wrong about it, and that, like dolls being possessed, I'm like, I don't think inanimate objects can be possessed, and then at some point in the future it might turn out that actually that's the only real form of paranormal, and you've been laughing at it for years. So I don't know.
You just don't know, do you? You have no idea. I mean, I don't know what. I don't know. I'm kind of. I wouldn't say I'm shut off. I don't really think about it too much. I just go, I ask questions and just see what happens. Because I know like a lot of people believe in like rocks, energy from like rocks, and I know people believe in like fairies and stuff like that. But
it makes you wonder where it come from. There's got to be some truth somewhere behind some of it, even if it's misconception. There's something somewhere that's sparked. Like the first ghost story, where did it come from?
Yeah,
was the legitimacy behind it? Or was it just one guy talking out of his ass, and then we all are still looking for it, and it was all a joke? Like,
you just don't know, do you?
No, I mean, you look at the universe is endless, and then you've got different dimensions and stuff, and could it be a time loop and bizarre? It's quite mind-blowing, really.
Yeah, man. So we got most of the questions anyway, didn't we? I think.
Yeah, I think. Oh. I think you got everything. I appreciate your time. Not just for this, but like the amount of time when I'm asking stupid questions about cameras and all that.
No, man, it's all good. I mean, I used to do the exact same when I started out, and I used to message someone called Dale, who used to be part of a team called Paranormal Truth. I used to just hound him. I was like messages like, what mics do you use? What kind of cameras would you suggest? And just ask, like even when it comes to like live stream, I was like, because I had an idea of how he was doing like live streams in night vision. But so I would just message him, was like, is this how you're doing it? Are you using this? Are you using that? And he'd help me through it. So I know exactly how it's like. I mean, we get messages all the time now of people asking, our camera setups, and I mean, people have asked for videos, like us to go through, exactly what we use, and I think that'd be quite a good idea, to be fair. Like the bags and just tripods, monopods, and just everything else, and just like, listen, this is what we've got.
Because I know you've helped Mark from Dead Cold a lot.
Yeah,
because I've been talking to him a lot, and he's like, no, he's helped me with editing and everything, and I'm like, obviously coming from Twitch is a very different community where it's like there's almost like an unwritten rule you can't approach bigger channels. You've got to wait for them to come to you. It's all really bizarre. And I remember asking a streamer a question one day, and he just bit my head off, and he was like, "Fucking, you should be respecting and calm down. Maybe you should want to pass off the advice and stuff." And then the YouTube communities, like the paranormal YouTube community, the good guys, it's like I've never had a bad experience asking anyone anything, but you've been more helpful.
No, man, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, it can be a bit overwhelming at times because you do get a lot. We do get a lot of messages. I can't respond to everyone, because there's just like there's so many. But I think that's why if I just done like a little video of just saying, well, this is what we use and this and that, so a lot of people can take from it. But
I mean, my channel's a fraction of the size of yours, and it was like I had every intention of always replying to every single comment with like a handwritten, and I'm like at 2,000 subscribers, I can't do it anymore. It's like the comments are it's insane, and then I put my email address out. Look, if you want me to debunk anything, if you want me to do, and I'm like, shit, I must be getting like 40 emails a day, and some of it I've got to look at it and be like, no, that's you having an issue with that content, and I'm not getting involved in that. A
lot of people do try and get you involved into their own drama, and I mean, like back in the day, I used to be kind of into it, but I think as you get a bit older, then you just start to realize that YouTube drama. Your channel, it's kind of it's not based on it, but the work you do, it's going to like attract the drama, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Because no matter what you try and do, it's going to, because you're saying things. And there's a lot of disciples out there who, like, no matter what their favorite YouTuber do, they can't do no wrong, and they will defend them to the death.
Yeah, so I've seen some pretty nasty shit, and people will still defend them. I'm like, how can you defend that?
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, I used to be the exact same, but I think again over the years, I've gone like, yeah, it's just a much easier life. Just I'll keep my opinions to myself now, and I just go and film, and I just let everyone else, say whatever, whatever they wanted to kind of say. But again, I'm if I was in the debunker, like it would be kind of like how you guys would go. But
yeah, it's like I've got to I did the live stream with Mark, and I could see the comments going up. And I'm like, I'm not answering about specific channels on his, because I didn't want him catching hate because of something I've said in a video weeks and weeks ago about a channel, because it'll happen. So it was like, I made a little jibe at like Laney and Ben, and I tried to keep, he took me on there as a debunker, and he was really cool. Everyone on there, like Icons, they were really cool. There was another guy, Russ, I think his name was. He was cool. And I'm like, I'm the debunker, you guys, but because they got nothing to hide, they were fine. Like, but I do have this worry that associating with the real guys could get them a bit of heat, and I'm like, I really don't want that. So, like, when I do stuff like this, I don't want to be like this channel, that channel. It'll be about the guys, unless it's like Mr. Grey comes on because he does what I do. He's just more polite about it.
Yeah, he's a really nice blog, Mr. Grey.
Yeah, he is. He's I think me and Purple are going to be doing some stuff. Me, Purple, and Dorset Paranormal. We're on about going to 30 East Drive. They've messaged me before Purple tried to set this up about going out with them and seeing what they do and how they do it and stuff. So I've had other people ask me, and I'm like, no way am I going out with you.
Yeah.
So guys, there it is. First ever podcast, nailed down. It was brilliant talking with Steve and Griff. Griff, unfortunately, had a call towards the end of the session. He had to take off, and that's fine. He did message us. I think I've left that in the video that he messaged us to say that he's had to bounce. Much appreciation to the Ouija Brothers for taking the time out to have the conversation with me. What you've seen in the video there was pretty much the podcast, but me and Steve we were still online for like an hour and a half later, just talking rubbish. Great experience. I say in the video, I speak to Steve quite a lot away from YouTube, and it's not all about the paranormal, and it's not all about debunking. We just sort of built up a bit of a friendship. I know Griff was tired before he started, but I appreciate that he came on. I appreciate them being open, honest, candid. I asked them beforehand, is there anywhere you don't want me to go? Is there anything you don't want me to see? And they were like, nah, just ask what you want to ask. We'll talk about what we want to talk about. Is there anything... I said, is there anything you'd like me to edit out once we've finished, if you think of something? And they were like, nah, just have at it. So just good, honest, real people. I can't thank them enough for spending some time with us and for basically having just a really cool conversation where there was no awkward silences, and it was like, it can be quite difficult to speak to somebody online that you've not really had much to do with in the real world, and the conversation just flowed. So I really appreciate it. Beardo Army, I really, really appreciate you guys. I've started a Patreon. I haven't actually done anything on there, and some of you guys have already subscribed through Patreon. Thank you so much. I had no idea you guys knew that was there. I am going to populate that with something to give you guys something back for your subscriptions on Patreon. Much love. Go check out the Ouija Brothers. Links, of course, will be in the description below. And I can't wait to get on to the next podcast. And hopefully me and the Ouija Brothers can do a bit more. They've said about me going out with them to certain locations. Yeah, just brilliant. Thank you all so very much. Drop a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider hitting subscribe. More importantly, go and check out the Ouija Brothers. Subscribe to the Ouija Brothers. Beardo out.